to you at 12:30. So kudos to him and his team. And then Mary Ellen Scott, the Senior Marketing Director of Chili's, they're going to be talking about engaging consumers through purpose and personalization. And it's being moderated by Jamie King, founder and CEO of Camp King. So thank you guys. Please join me to the stage.
Chef Brian, that's a flex. That title, nice. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? All right. Yeah. Let's go. Today our panel is going to be talking about brand purpose and personalization and the role of that within innovation. And what's interesting about this panel is that these guys at Chili's really start upstream. They're in the kitchen, right? So they're creating the innovation. And then what's interesting about Drew is he's kind of downstream, and he has to take that innovation and make sure that consumers understand, how it fits with the brand purpose and what the messaging and the features are of that innovation. So let's start with Brian. Can you share Chili's purpose statement and how you use it every day in the kitchen?
Sure. We actually have a big banner in the kitchen. We've got it hung up, make sure everyone doesn't miss, and I'm going to try to get it right. Make everyone feel special with fun atmosphere, delicious food and drink with Chili Head hospitality. And what I hope is that you felt Chili Head hospitality today with the food that we've had here. So, yeah, a little bit of applause. Yay! And so it is a filter for us. We want to make sure that we're spending time remembering that we have everyone we've got to make feel special. That's our team internally, making sure that the operations teams and all the teams here in the RSC, our Restaurant Sports Center, have all the tools they need to be able to execute great food, great marketing, great accounting practices as it pertains to all the work that we're doing, right? Making sure that it hits costs, that supply chain can do their work. So a very collaborative effort, and just making sure up and down the chain that everyone gets the opportunity to feel special with all the work that we're doing. And then at the end of the day, it's got to be delicious. It says it right there in the purpose. It's got to be delicious. So making sure that it works on all fronts there as well.
Great. Well, one of your guys' newer innovations is the Triple Dipper. And I was doing some research in preparation for this panel, and I saw that the Triple Dipper now makes up 11% of Chili's sales. It's got over 150 million consumer posts on social celebrating it. This past Christmas, you guys did a whole merch line celebrating it. Can you talk, Mary Ellen, a little bit about how the Triple Dipper was born out of your brand purpose and how it's really a physical manifestation of it?
Sure. I know George kind of teased Triple Dipper earlier, but for those who don't know, Triple Dipper is one of our iconic appetizers, and it is an appetizer sampler where our guests have the choice of 3 options, from our legendary Southwestern egg rolls to our Big Mouth burger bites, and they all come with dipping sauces, and there's over hundreds of combinations, and our guests love the variety within Triple Dipper. So we've had it for decades, and it hasn't seen this surge of growth until recently. So this was just last year when on TikTok the cheese pull went viral. I think that was last April. And so the cheese pull went viral, and the team was like, how do we capitalize on this momentum, and how do we really lean into something that we're already seeing our guests doing? I know the panels have talked about that earlier, and came up with the idea to put our Nashville hot sauce, which we already had in restaurants, to go with our crispy chicken crispers, and combine the two together. So we moved really quickly and had a secret menu hack, which we launched just through social first, because we have our menu prints that are quarterly, which kind of hang us up on how quickly we can move. So we launched the secret menu hack, and then from there, just Triple Dipper buzz just continued to take off. And by the end of of the year, actually, Triple Dipper is almost 15% of our mix. So Triple Dipper is now a huge staple as part of our business. And that really happened because of TikTok and just all of the work that Jack and Luz have done in partnership with the influencers to really promote that. And so it's part of our 5 to Drive now. It used to just be what we called Core 4, which was burgers, crispers, margaritas, and fajitas. And now it's the 5 to Drive. And Triple Dipper is that 5th growth lever for our business, really contributed to TikTok. And so that's just one of the innovations that we've had recently with Nashville hot sauce. But we have a ton of innovation in the pipeline and things that we're constantly looking ahead on with Triple Dipper that Chef Brian, I always call him BP, so BP, we'll talk to you about.
Yeah, the secret in the sauce, if you have the next big idea, we'd love to have it. I think that we were talking to one of our suppliers yesterday, and we said, we want the next big thing, and they said, so do we. So we're working on that. The innovation that we've been working on with Triple Dipper is really, again, more collaboration. We're working with all of our partners that provide product, seasoning, flavor, saucing, anything that can help us drive more attention to that Triple Dipper and continue to drive virality or continue to drive attention. We've collaborated and started a chef's council process. One of the folks on my team is coming from the sauce world, from a supplier point of view, and had some great insight on how we could do that successfully. And through hundreds and hundreds of white paper ideation sessions with them and times to spend into filtering down to 10 or 12, we had a very heavy day of eating, looking through and trying to find those next big ideas, and then really getting down to 1 or 2 that we think might be something that's going to be a big opportunity for us. So no disclosure, but we're working hard to get those things ready to go to market and be exciting. So we're always looking, always tasting, always eating, and maybe I need to join Gold's Gym so I can stand out a little bit. But yeah.
Can you expand on kind of where your sources of inspiration are for kind of these new flavors and these new form factors? Where do you look?
Paying attention, watching trends, watching social media for those ideas, flipping through magazines, leaning on other people's point of view. We're generally very collaborative across the system here. We have really talented people in every department, and we don't allow for anyone not to come down, right? If they come down and say, I've got a great idea, what do you think of this? They'll come down, we'll taste it together, we'll look and see if it works. We don't close our doors to anyone in the building. We're not so sheltered that we want all the innovation to just be from our own space, and it works. We don't close the door. So inspiration can really come from anywhere. Trends are hard because they die. We don't want to die. We want to stay relevant. So keeping that in mind as well.
Yeah. Obviously, bolder, spicier flavors are kind of the trend. Drew, the Frito-Lay team introduced Doritos Flamin' Hot Nacho, which was massively popular. I believe shelves were clearing out. You were having trouble keeping it in stock. Can you talk a bit about kind of how consumer insight drove that product innovation and how you brought it to market and kind of took it to media?
Yeah, sure. So I wish I could take credit. Obviously, these are the geniuses that are here that come up with a practical product. But what's cool about Frito-Lay, if you haven't been to the campus, we actually have the whole entire culinary division underneath us. So it's right down the hall. They're making all the delicious chips and finding out those unique flavors. So it's great to have that firsthand, to your point about maybe overeating or overindulging. You need to go to Gold's Gym. So you can't spend too long down there because it's a lot of yummy food. But basically, it goes back to for me, and when I think about how we deliver that message to our consumers, it is the purpose. We have to realize what Doritos is able to execute. So while there's trends and everyone might want to produce a spicy snack that it's got a little bit more flavor and heat, which one of our brands has the right to bring that flavor to life? And it's difficult. In the market there was Takis, which is is, I'll admit, delicious. It's got the heat that everyone loves, but we need to play in that space. We're always looking for incremental occasions or incremental taste profiles. So how do we broaden our household penetration? And when you have a big brand like Doritos, that's kind of hard to do. But we felt we had a right to play in that space, in the heat space. Doritos is known for being bold, right? Bringing bold flavors, things you might not expect, kind of that younger kind of embodiment of just bringing your full self and bring it all. And heat, dovetails really nicely into that brand. So it fit really well for Doritos in terms of its purpose and what types of flavor it could bring to the market. Now, on my job, it's the difficulty there is how do you reinforce that you're taking that brand equity from Doritos, but it's also a new flavor, right? So, like, how many of you in this audience are Doritos fans? Okay, love it. Now, how many love spicy snacks? Okay, so that's very difficult for me to start to dissect which of these groups I need to go after. Is it my Doritos core audience that might want to try something new? Or should I go after, those segments that are more in the heat and the flavor seekers, we call them, but also might like Doritos? That's a fine line that you have to meet there. And so that's where I'm really excited about the space of, leveraging technology and being able to always say have like deterministic audience data, so that I know I'm not just speaking to everyone and hoping that they buy. I actually know who's more likely to buy and try from the beginning, because what you can have, and those retailers will tell you, the product's got to thrive. And I'm sure at Chili's, when you bring that to the menu, you kind of got to know that it's for enough people that it's not going to just be, oh, that was kind of a nice little innovation, it goes away. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time and care. Yes, absolutely right. It's got to work. So you're starting from, again, that brand purpose. You're bringing the product to life, and then you're finding the right audiences that will try it. So it starts to move on shelf, and boy, did it ever. So it was that confluence of having the right direction, building the right product, and then being able to talk to the right people at the right time. So they're like, oh, that is a new flavor. I'm going to go try it. And to your point, Jamie, yes, very, very successful. And now Flaming Hot is its own brand. So hopefully that's getting across to a lot of you. I know sometimes there's confusion around it. Ruffles Flaming Hot. Like, we have Smart Flaming Hot. We have Jack Link's Flaming Hot. Like, so it's clearly a thing. It's working. But again, it's because we had that clear vision and purpose of what we wanted to do.
That's great. What now that there are the original flavors, nacho, obviously Cool Ranch became an institution unto itself. But in terms of all these line extensions, what % of the portfolio are those now? These new innovations.
Great question. So I would say over time we've actually reduced the amount of innovations we have, because we realized we couldn't just own every type of consumer trend that was out there. You need to be purposeful and lend credibility back to our brands. So I would say sometimes, and what you've seen us do is, while we're not maybe experts in some of the space, we're quickly growing as fast as we can, especially into the health and wellness space. So you've seen us go out and acquire brands like Poppy. We developed Bubbly in-house, but also we've done Health Warrior, where we have Siete that just came online, which is more of an organic chip. So we're starting to find that we don't own those rights necessarily all the time to develop a new innovation or new flavor. It needs to stand alone as its own brand, because what you don't want to do is have so many innovations across your products that you start to dilute the brand. Like, what is Lay's, for example? Like, is it crunchy? Is it wavy? Is it salty? Is it a hint of lime? You start to become too many things. You're trying to be too many things to too many people. And so being focused, we really are in charge right now of anytime there is an innovation, boy, it's got to go through the ringer. We can't just be creating new flavors just to create them. We have to know it lands, similar to how we knew that Doritos and Flaming Hot would land. And so until we're confident in that approach, we do not, give the go-ahead for the guys in the kitchen down there to go ahead and make the food for us.
Good. Great. All right. Nothing better to wash down spicy food than margaritas.
Okay, let's go.
No restaurant. I was surprised by this, but maybe I shouldn't have been. I was surprised to see that no restaurant sells more margaritas than Chili's. And I think you sold something like 25 million margaritas last year. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And now that's a lot of margaritas.
It is.
So now, just in time for summer, I notice you guys are debuting a new line of premium Patron margaritas, and yeah.
Yes, so we want to be the destination for margaritas, and if you want to be the destination for margaritas, you need to have a frozen platform. We only had one frozen drink on our menu, and we had like 12 rocks drinks, and we actually know that our guests prefer frozen to rocks, and the frozen that we did have on our menu wasn't very good. It was pretty low quality, a cheap drink. It used well tequila, powdered sweet and sour, not something we were proud to serve. And so Andrea, who leads our beverage program, and Demi are back there. They just got after this challenge and this opportunity to really create a premium frozen marg across all ingredients that we're using. So that starts with Patron, a premium tequila that Chili's guests love and way over index. And it uses fresh lime juice, agave, triple sec. And so we wanted to create just a really premium base frozen margarita that is distinct in the landscape versus what you would get at another place. And so that just launched June 24th, and that is the base for two other drink innovations that launched as well. We have the Flamingo Freeze, which you will be trying for happy hour, so stay tuned for that. So the Flamingo Freeze uses prickly pear, and then it has a little bit of extra booze with some Tito's in there. So that's just a really fun drink that leans into a trending flavor with prickly pear that we also know our guests love to try. So it's a little bit of an elevated experience. It comes in a martini glass, a little bit different presentation from the Rocks Patron, the Rocks glass with the frozen Patron. And then we also have a second premium drink, which is called the Arctic Drift. And this is our blue kind of beachy summertime vibe drink. And this uses blue curacao, Malibu, and pineapple juice. So you get the little extra booze on this one too with the Malibu. So the team is really proud of this drink lineup that we just rolled out. It is already crushing it across restaurants. Our team members are really excited to be selling this drink. And I think that's something that's big when we're innovating is our team members have to be bought into it. And it has to be really easy for them to sell the drink, to talk about it, and to execute it. And so, like BP mentioned, this is a huge cross-functional initiative. And one of the things that you don't often think about is equipment. And we made sure to have like gold standard equipment. It's the Taylor frozen margarita machine. And so we decided to invest in that to make sure that our team members could really quickly get that drink served and out to our guests so they could be having multiple frozen margs in their visit. And that was obviously driven by the team and the collaboration within this building, as well as the partnership with Patron. They've shown up as a huge player just to help us continue to promote these new drinks.
Can you talk a bit more about the Patron partnership? I mean, it sounds like it was a natural fit for you guys. That your consumer over-indexed on using Patron already, but talk about bringing them to the table and how you use brand purpose to make sure they could fit with it, and how you guys could align from a common vision and kind of innovate together.
Yeah, so Andrea, who leads our beverage program, she's back there in the back. She does a great job meeting with our big suppliers that have, big parts of our business, and has really done a great job on establishing relationships. And John Maggio is who we work with at Patron, and they, similar to our kind of cultural beliefs of always showing that hospitality, going above and beyond, that is what Patron has been for us. And so it was just a natural fit where our partnerships met and our values aligned, and it was just the spirit that we wanted to lean into from a business perspective. And then, like I said earlier, from a guest perspective, obviously we wouldn't do anything that our guests don't want, because then they're not going to buy it. So we know they love Patron, so it was just a great synergies across all fronts.
Nice. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about personalization. There's kind of a concept that I like to use with my strategy teams called the universal specific insight. And the concept is, in order to get something that can be big volumetrically, the key is to identify a universal specific consumer insight, something that is universal in that it applies to a lot of people, but it's specific enough at an individual level where it has meaning, that it feels like it's speaking to me. Drew, Lay's Poppables, kind of a new innovation out of Frito-Lay. Can you talk a bit about what they are first and how it grew out of a universal specific insight into your consumer?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, new is probably relative. It's been on the market for a little bit now, but I just talked about not overextending your brand, trying to get into too many flavors, so the sublines. I would say there is another piece of that, which is outside of flavor, it's really the texture, right? It's the actual crunch, hard bite is very popular right now. So Poppables was basically more of an airy chip that, was a little bit lighter, maybe not as greasy. And to your point about the universal insight, what was interesting here is we originally thought that it was going to be more for children, like a fun little snack, something to crunch on, kind of that waffle texture. But actually what we found was the universal truth was people, whether they were scrolling on their phones or when they were eating a snack while they're watching the movie, they didn't like the grease on their hands. They kept getting in the bag, but it was getting everywhere, and they had like the crumbs. And so people wanted just a light little, basically a poppable snack. You can pop in your mouth and kind of eat. And that applied to kids, not getting a mess on the couch, but also, the parents at night. It's kind of like a popcorn. And so we really found that consumers really like the not only the texture and the mouthfeel, but they like the fact that, that there's no more grease, there's no more that flakiness of a traditional Lay's potato chip. So it was very successful for that universal insight, because to your point, it's gotta be scalable. We can't solve every niche problem in the market. These things do take time and money to develop. But yeah, that universal insight really helped us to say and feel confident that this is gonna satisfy a lot of different consumer types. And the last thing I'll add is, as we try to grow household penetration and share with these bigger brands, this is another kind of demand moment. Think about all the snacking moments that you have, and where could Lay's own those? Most people probably think of their bag of Lay's chips at lunch. You go to Subway or whatever, and you're eating your chips with their sandwich. But we felt there's another right to play here, that we could start having people buy the yellow bag for their sandwiches. They don't buy my Poppables for either my kids or not to have that greasy texture. So again, you're owning another consumption occasion, and that's key, because we found that there was some white space there. So not only did it apply to the audience, but we aligned the audience with a market opportunity, and sales went through the roof. And then last thing I'll just add is that you've seen another similar example of that with our minis cans, because again, universal insight, right? No one wants a crunchy bag, especially online. You don't want to show up just all crinkled. So we found, again, the audience really wanted that in the space, and it was demonstrated by powerful brands like Pringles. But we felt, again, we had that right to own that that form and that function as well, because again, it's just a snacking occasion, and you want that form to hold, and then also you could reseal it again. So it's universal insights that apply to several different consumer cohorts, and again, it's helping us get that other occasion of literally snacking on the go and being able just to close that lid so you can keep enjoying your Cheetos or Doritos later.
Can you talk a little bit, just expand on the idea that when you think of kind of traditional Lay's, back to your point, the bag, a little bit of the grease, and then you have Poppables, you have minis, which is kind of not only a new form factor, but it's a new way to eat. And when launching that type of innovation from a communication and media standpoint, what do you stress, what do you focus on in order to kind of drive what is a new behavior and a new way to engage with the brand for your consumer?
Yeah, great question. This gets probably more to the media, obviously, side of things, where I'm charged with delivering that message to people. But a lot for me, it's the platform I'm delivering my message. So if it is a new innovation or a new flavor, it's paramount that I'm on a more premium placement. So think CTV, OTT. I need that theater space to tell that message, or it might be a slice of life moment. I can't just say get it for your kids on the go. It's so impactful when you can actually deliver that message, and it's a video of the mom struggling, in the car or whatever, and she's like, here, just, Johnny, Sarah, eat this. And because it's now that form and function that actually shows you how that's going to help you in your day. Because everything that we do needs to be grounded in what we call human jobs to be done. Not just what the brand wants to do, but how are we solving a problem for that consumer. And so when you're saying we have the right to solve that problem for the on-the-go snacker and like minis or poppables for movie night, we need to show that. So the creative needs to speak to that. And that's why it's so paramount for me is, and selfishly, for media to lead first, to understand what that communication is. It's great when the creatives build this amazing stuff, and they're the best at it. We have our own internal house over here. There's some people from D3 that do amazing work. But if you can't fit that form of creative into the right platform where the consumer is, you're done for. And a lot of times we were doing creative first and then just delivering sloppy ads that the consumer wasn't connecting with. So once you find that message, how it should come to life, how it's going to deliver on human jobs to be done, that brings that extra light bulb for those creatives in the room. And then they're able to bring that to life, knowing where that needs to show up. So that connectivity is really key for me to deliver that message.
Great. Brian, let's jump back into the kitchen. This idea of kind of a universal specific insight. How do you kind of think about and develop menu items, trying to take into account something that's going to be broadly appealing, yet resonates with people on an individual basis, and expand on how maybe customization and choice play into that for your consumer?
Yeah, I think it's one of the hardest things to do in innovation is to get something that everyone's going to like, or that you've got broad scope, people across the country and all demographics and all walks of life are going to come in and gravitate towards. It's just really difficult to land that, and I think that's consistently the one thing that we're always talking about is making sure we're not just satisfying one guest or one need, but making sure we're looking across the breadth of things. As it pertains to personalization, I think Triple Dipper is a great example of looking at a lot of variety that's tasty, a variety that gives me choice. I can pick the things I want on there. As we use menu imagery, we often are using slight variations of that through the menu to make sure that variety is pictured and we have great representation of all the great food. It does drive some personalization there, so I can pick the things that I love and the things that I want to put on, hopefully eating in my car with sauce running down my arm and driving some more attention to those items for us. Do that, please, and send more stuff to these guys over here. That's really where the rubber meets the road for us is we've got to be broadly appealing, but also make sure there's choice built in. And the Triple Dipper is a great example of how we've been able to execute that.
Mary Ellen, you kind of help on the gating process of product innovation. Can you talk a little bit about, you're excited about an idea, it's kind of going through the process. At what point do you cut bait or double down? Like what's the threshold for that when you're developing an innovation?
So I love this question. This was not planned.
Yeah.
We actually, we hadn't been innovating when I'm a boomerang. So I was at Chili's in 2019, 2020, went to Yum, came back, and we hadn't been innovating that whole time. We had been through COVID, and we got our budget back, and we were like, okay, let's start to do things. We didn't have a process to do those things though. And so something I had brought with me from Yum was an innovation stage gate process. And we adapted it for how Chili's works and how our culture is and just how we engage with the cross-functional team. And it's called the Pepper process. And that's how we move from the discover phase, like BP talked about. We're working with our consumer insights team and Culinary, and we're trying to see what the trends are, what's the white space opportunities, and then we take that through to consumer testing, validating, just like idea iterating. Then we start developing the product, commercializing it, testing it, and then preparing to launch. And throughout that, I know someone talked about earlier, like we're constantly pitching to leadership. Throughout each of those stages, we're bringing along our leadership team to make sure everybody feels like we're still moving agreeing on strategy. Everybody's aligned. We're moving towards the right goal and how we're going to ultimately drive the business. And so that's how we partner and work through the innovation process. So throughout there in the middle, that's where we decide whether we're going to continue or whether we're going to stop. And it's a stage gate. So at any stage, we can say like, hey, this is no longer working. We feel like we've landed something that's really good, but we don't know how to commercialize it. So that's part of the stage gate, is you can back out at any point. And we've all kind of adapted that, and the rest of the organization has actually adapted it too. So even our like IT department is using this as they're looking at new technology and testing and making sure our restaurants have the best equipment to help service our guests. So
great. Couple minutes left here, Brian. Any final words and advice on how to get to great innovation for the folks here attending today?
Don't stop trying. I think we're in the kitchen constantly. We're always looking at new things. One of the things that we are constantly taking in is ideation from our suppliers and ideation from across different partners. Some of it's terrible, some of it's really good, and some of it might work. So it's never saying no, always allowing people in, listening, and trying a lot of things.
Great. I mean, some wonderful messages here. I mean, I think obviously stay linked to your brand purpose, cross collaboration, even inviting partners in, not only thinking about things upstream, but also downstream, and how to educate consumers on new form factors and new ways to engage in a brand. And then ultimately, I think, never stop trying, keep innovating, and keep thinking. So love it. I really appreciate you guys sharing your experiences and your advice, and thank you so much.
Likewise,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.